This is American Dreams, a program where we interview thought leaders and entrepreneurs and bring their ideas to you in real world context. Welcome to today's show. I'm visiting here today with David Mansilla. Good to have you here, David.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Alan.
So, David, for the listeners, you're a true entrepreneur, but could you outline your background and history of what brought you up to where you are today? And then we'll talk about what you're working on.
For sure, yes. So I came from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad had 7 businesses before he passed away, and we're 5 siblings. And at the beginning, was the top 3 siblings had businesses, and I am the second youngest, and I was still working in a corporate job, and my younger sister too. But you know, the example and that drive for looking for freedom eventually took me to take the leap of faith and start my own business.
And where did you start that business, David?
Everywhere. So I started in Canada. So I was born in Guatemala in 1972, and I moved to Canada in 1991.
And you're currently in Atlanta today?
Yes, I'm visiting clients and family in Atlanta for now.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have an international business. So tell me about how many countries you're in, and a little bit about your business model, about what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, I started. So to give a bit of background, when I finished college in Canada in 1995, and back then they were having the federal government realized that the internet was going to be the next economical focus point for the country. So they created a condensed MBA type program for tech entrepreneurs, for tech people that wanted to become entrepreneurs. So I applied, and I took a year of this program with business, marketing, human resources, accounting, everything that you needed to start your own business. And the deal was that at the end of that term, you will get a $10,000 backed by the Canadian government. So it was a bank loan backed by the Canadian government. So I went through the whole program. I got my $10,000, about $40,000 of today's money, and I almost failed. It went miserably. I spent half the money in equipment the first month, and then I struggled for 2 years. But I was lucky enough that I could sell the business for the amount of money that I owed. So at the end of the 2 years, my debt was about $20,000. So the $10,000 from the government plus $10,000 from my own pocket, right? So I decided to get a corporate job because I had no idea what I was doing. But like I said, I was blessed enough so that I ended up selling computers. So I'm in the computer world, so I am a software engineer. I haven't written code for a while, but that's my core, software architect. And then my passion was what I wanted to do when I got out of this course is to go and offer my services as a consultant. But nobody would hire me because I was a junior developer, right? So I ended up selling computers to pay the rent and pay the staff. And at the end of the 2 years, I was selling, about, thousands of computers a month. And one of my interns, he really fell in love with the business. And out of the blue, he just came with his dad and asked to buy the business. And I said, they just told me, how much do you want for your business? And I had the number. It was the debt. And when I gave them the number, the guy just took his checkbook and wrote the check right away. So that, are you sure, right? Then I realized I could have sold it for 5 times more, right? But I didn't have any business acumen back then.
Well, so you got out of debt with the first business, and then what inspired you to start this second, or the business that you're currently running now?
So I got a corporate job. So I started quickly to move up in the corporate ladder. I always had side gigs, so I was telling my employers that I will keep trying to get consulting at night. So they were always okay with that because it wasn't competing. But as I moved up the corporate ladder, I realized that I had the business acumen. I knew how corporate works. And I also noticed a lot of deficiencies in the way companies hire developers and the way that companies treat developers. It's a lot better now, but back in 2000 to 2010, companies treated developers like they treated accountants or or normal office people. And software developers, especially the very best ones, they work on their own time and they have their own cycles. And if you don't respect that, you get a less quality of work, and they're also their morale goes down. So everywhere I went, actually, as a corporate leader, I was spending about 2 to 3 years per company, because I will go in, I will fix the entire IT department, I will set the new rules, I will fight with the VP of HR to make sure that nobody will touch my department. And then once they were completely optimized, I worked myself out of a job, so I will jump into another job. So then I thought, maybe I can do this for a business and actually create a software company that knows how to treat the people right, how to set up a good culture, so I can add massive value not only to one business but to many businesses at the same time. So I took that leap of faith again in 2005, and I never looked back.
And your business today is
It's called
called?
ISU Corp. So it's
Okay.
a high-end software consulting firm. We build platforms for companies to grow their profits in the cloud, using blockchain, using mobile technologies. We're always leading edge, figuring out how to leverage technologies to raise the net profits for our clients.
So, David, we live in a world where the technology changes so quickly. How do you keep ahead of what is occurring, and so that you can deliver the service to clients?
It's you have to have passion. I was just talking about that to a client of mine yesterday, because everybody is on Amazon services now, and they know what the Azure cloud is and how cloud computing works. And now with the new blockchain technology systems, they are bringing something called internet computers, and this is actually completely centralized computing power across the internet, and it's completely different. And this just came out a couple of months ago, and I know about it because I'm passionate about technology. So I'm always mingling with people, with innovators, looking at startups. I'm also a startup investor, so I get the news faster than anybody else. But it's like being a doctor, right? If you don't have the passion, you will not do it, because for some people it's like, oh my God, it's so tiring. I just finally conquered this technology. I know how to do this, and now you're telling me there is something new coming that is going to replace it. So it's a constant learning cycle, right?
Yeah. So your ideal client, what does that look like? Who is your ideal
Yeah, so
client?
we tend to focus on the mid markets. So companies that,
Okay.
they are, between 100 and 1,000 employees, companies
Okay.
that can leverage technology in order to exponentiate their growth and bless their entire employees and their clients. So we go in strategically, we find processes that need to be automated, or automated processes that are not doing the job that are supposed to do. And we form partnerships with the CEO and the CIO of the company. They have one, and we tend to become their development arm. So they have in-staff people, but our company goes in and sets the vision and the direction of the technology, not only in the present but especially in the future. Like, what's the roadmap and how do we build it so that we're ahead of the competition all the time?
So, David, there's a lot of variety in terms of different software products that can be used out there for HR, building out processes. Do you have a proprietary software, or do you use third-party
Yeah, so
vendors?
we both. So what we actually consult with companies on what softwares to use, or if there's something that needs to be replaced. But we build custom platforms that attach to those CRP packages, to the HR packages, to the financial packages. But we have a platform called the Core. Basically, what we did is we automated about 50% of anybody's custom software platform. So we realized that about 20 to 50% could be is exactly the same regardless of what you want to build. So it's almost like buying a prefabricated house where you can get to design all the internal parts to your liking and to what you want to accomplish, but you don't have to repay for the architecture. You don't have to repay for the security, for the UI UX control, for the user management. Everything that is common is already in this package, and it's built with 20 years of engineering excellence.
Training must be a big part of your solutions also when you do a deliverable.
For sure. So
How do
we
you?
start by training our
Yeah.
clients. Uh,
Okay.
It's funny that you mentioned what's your ideal client. Part of the filter that we take before we work with anybody is if our clients think they have the solution, we don't work with them because they are not willing to learn more, right? Or they're not willing to take advice. So for us, the best client is the clients that know that they don't know enough to do it themselves, if that makes sense. It's a big training is a big part
And
of
then
our job for sure.
what is the average size of your advisory team coming in and helping with
So
implementation?
we usually start with 4 or 5 people on the architecture level, on at the VP level. So working with the CIO or the CTO, and then we set up the teams depending on what the project size is. So to give you an idea, we have clients as small as having 3 or 4 developers on working with them, and as big as 30 40 people. It really depends on how big the project is and how fast they want it delivered. So imagine that you're making a building, right? If the building is 100 stories, you're gonna need more people than if the building is 5 stories, right?
Yeah, I imagine that it's quite a task, and then at any given time, you're in Canada, but you're now in Atlanta. You do a lot of travel. So, uh, in terms of size, what's the largest client you've been able to take
Yeah,
on?
General Electric Energy. So we were hired to do a front UI UX
Big,
for all their systems. So when the new technologies emerged on
yeah,
Web 3 went to Web 2.0, they hired us to set the standards for the entire team. So so we could take on very large corporate clients on a very strategic level.
excellent, excellent. So, how is AI with the artificial intelligence? How has that affected what you do? Do you build that into your new processes and
Yeah. In fact, the
technology
core has an AI
solutions?
socket so that you can actually start putting AI into any system that you want. We actually have a sister company in the States called ISU AI, and the only focus is to build uh, neural networks that have the capability of having predictability in every platform that we build. So AI is here and it's in its infancy still, but it's exponential. So 5, 10 years from now, most machines, most the humans' daily lives will be guided by AIs. Well, you can see it now, right? You can say "Good morning, Alexa," and you can ask the weather, and you can ask for directions. You don't even have to type in
Mhm.
a computer anymore, right?
Yeah. So, what's the greatest thing that you've learned since starting a
That
company?
culture is everything, and giving is first. Giving is first. Culture is everything, and if you don't take care of your employees, you could never take care of your clients.
Okay, that's very, very good advice. Yeah, work on the inside as much as the outside. Okay, so your company motto is gratitude, growth, and contribution. Can you tell us how you came up with that
Yeah.
motto?
So if you remember, I told you that I wanted to achieve a state of freedom. That was one of the primary reasons why I wanted to go on my own. But the very first 5 years was not freedom, was even more jail. That's why I wrote this book called Breaking Out of Corporate Jail, because even as an entrepreneur, you set up your own cage and you don't even realize, but you make your own jail. And sometimes that jail is stronger than the whatever it is that you go get in a corporate environment. So, you go in with fear after having, a corporate job with the corner office and all the benefits that you get, from senior leadership, into that you don't know where you're going to get your next paycheck from. That's how it started, right? I had no contracts. I just resigned. I said, this is it. Let's go get my first client. And thankfully enough, it only took me about a month to get my first client, but it was very scary. So when you act from scarcity and you act from lack, you do progress a lot. And, I didn't spend any penny for 2, 3 years to build a base, which was very healthy, but I never changed. So I got into abundance, but my mind and my heart was still focused on scarcity and lack, so that I wasn't good to my employers, so that I wanted to get the most out of my clients. And that kept growing, and it created a monster, because the problem is when you don't remove scarcity from your life, you build something called anger, and then from anger you build something called pride. So the levels of vibration in your heart, they grow to a level, but if you get stuck in pride, it's the worst place to be. You can become a billionaire with pride, but you will never be happy and fulfilled. So I kept doing this, right? So I
Good
kept doing
advice.
this
Yeah.
several years until 2011. My my pride was so bad that I had a heart attack, and yeah, I almost died. It wasn't like I could still drive to the hospital, but turns out my doctor said 5% more stronger, and I would have been in serious trouble, right? So overstressed, overworked, traveling too much. So I have people in 8 countries. That's why I travel so much. My clients are in US and Canada, but I'm beginning to open Latin America. I just came from Mexico City. We're doing great things there, and everything is opening up, especially because of the core, because we're automating so much that our costs are very affordable now. So I was traveling every 3, 4 weeks. I was working 15 hours a day. Like basically, I was doing the same thing that I was doing at the beginning of the business, but now I was 7 years into the business, and it was all based on pride. And look at me, how much I can accomplish, and look at all the material possessions that I'm accumulating. Boom! One day, my body said no more. I was abusing it, and I almost lost my family too. I didn't see my kids for years, and I will go home at midnight, and I will get up at 4 in the morning to go back and do it again. And that's when I was at home, but most of the time I was away from the country or away from my neighborhood, right?
So, David, who are some of your greatest mentors and role models in the
Yeah.
world?
So the first one that I can tell that the first person that I started following is Tim Ferriss. So basically, he explains the 80/20 rule, the 80/20 law, very very well. So I have read many books before in 80/20, like the 80/20 manager, stuff like that, 80/20 sales. But it wasn't until I read the 4 Hour Work Week that my life really started changing. In fact, when I had that heart attack, I went off for. I told my wife, take the kids off school, let's go somewhere far away from here. I told my VP of operations that if the company was going to go bankrupt, I didn't care. I needed to fix myself. So we went to Thailand and Indonesia without any tickets back, and during that healing process, I started reading, and I read this book first. So Tim Ferriss for sure. Then I started following a lot of Richard Branson, how he manages his culture. I learned so much, and I apply so much uh, of what the way he does business in my business, and also the way he lives his life. Another person is Tony Hay from Zappos. Delivering Happiness. That book changed my company's culture. So you were talking about my motto, right? Gratitude, growth, and contribution. And what I came to realize, so it took me about 5 years to completely transform myself. I went from 120 employees down to 5. Now we're 50 people again, but it took a while, and I didn't want to grow anymore. After I went down to 5 people, I'm like, I'm done. Like the pride is over. So now it's how do I make myself happy and my family happy and the employees that I have happy. But I didn't know. That's why I started growing and learning. Tony Robbins, another amazing person in my life. Um, and lately, Dan Sullivan. He's our business coach, and the way he teaches, and the simplicity, and how profound the lessons are, and how easy they are to implement is just unbelievable, right?
So, David, someone wanting to reach out to you to engage you for
They
services, how
can
do they
go
reach
to
you?
isucorp.ca. The website has a login form there, like you can leave your email address. You can contact me directly. My email address is davidm@isucorp.ca, and I'm here to help and serve.
Well, David, I appreciate you being with us today. It's far and few between to find great computer consultants to guide people to move up into the cloud, to put AI in the companies. And it's good to know excellent resource like you so that you get the transformation of the companies into the next generation
It's been a
technology.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Alan.